one of the great things about Hollywood and Los Angeles is you're surrounded by the best of musicians, artists, actors, and the craziest party people you'll ever party with.
All in one.
When I was working at KISS with JoJo, we got invited to go watch Mark Ballas at the Sayers Club. Now, Mark Ballas, if you don't know, is one of the dancers from Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
So we're there. I think I see a couple celebrities. There's a few celebrities in there. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. He comes out. He starts performing. He has a dance, of course. You know, he's singing. He sounds phenomenal, of course. And then he has this guitar guy. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of great musicians, you know, and I'm like, hey, that guy's great immediately. Because, you know, he has this unique, I've never seen this look, the feel, the sound. And he was phenomenal. Anyway, years later, we have lunch and he tells me that he was like brand new in the music game. And I could not believe it. So we were really excited to have him over here after lunch, after dinner, many years later. Round of applause for Dylan Chambers.
Yay.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Man, I was looking forward to having you so much. In fact, I shouldn't say this, but more than anybody else. I was like, it's going to be exciting. I said, okay, he might bring his guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Wow, it's like so crazy all these years later to be in here after meeting you. It must have been over 10 years ago.
You're right. It was over 10 years ago, huh? Mm-hmm. He looks the same. I think I got a few white more hairs, but I think that's okay.
I think we all do.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun though, man. I mean, if you go see a live show in Hollywood or if you go anywhere, it could be your neighborhood jazz lounge or, you know, what do you call those, open mics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you see somebody phenomenal, you kind of know right away.
Yeah.
He's now doing a solo thing and you've come a long way, man.
Thank you.
A long way.
That's amazing. Yeah. I would love to hear you live, by the way.
Great. Well, I'm happy to play for you in here. That'll be live.
Do you still talk to Mark, by the way?
Oh yeah, we're still very close. He's, you know, still like an older brother to me.
That's right. That's right. You guys were very close, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys known each other for how long now?
Man, maybe 14 years or so. I met him, I think, within the first year of moving to LA at one of these singer-songwriter nights that was sort of like an open mic night kind of thing that this promoter was putting on. And he was playing a set there and I was also playing a set and we met that night.
Is he still playing as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's in a duo with his wife, BC Jean, and their project's called Alexander Jean, and they're great. It's really great music.
Wow,
yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome that they're still doing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you've had quite the journey because you're not from LA, Hollywood.
I grew up in Arlington, Texas.
There you go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So he knows all about North Texas.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay.
We had a lunch, and I think for a good like half an hour, I was talking about my journey in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I've been going to Texas my whole life. You know.
Yeah.
But Austin though, Central Austin and Houston, so very different. If you know Texas, you know how giant it is, and North Texas it's almost like the Midwest in a weird way. It's very different from Central Texas, where Austin is at, and then if you go to Houston, very different too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up El Paso. But so how did you go from, it's not a small town. Arlington's big. Mm-hmm. Dallas is phenomenally huge.
Yeah.
They have one of the biggest airports in the country and the most beautiful and one of the cleanest downtowns I've ever seen.
It is nice there.
It really is. Mm-hmm. So you went from Arlington to LA.
Yeah.
I guess paint me that picture of what's going on mentally.
Yeah, sure. So I was going to go to the Berklee College of Music in Boston. That was sort of my dream school that I wanted to go to. And I auditioned, I got in, but I didn't get a scholarship. And then I realized, it's really expensive. Maybe I just kind of had tunnel vision. I didn't understand anything about money. I just thought, you get into college, you go. Yeah. And so I was kind of freaking out because I had my whole hopes really set on that. Yeah. And so when that didn't work out, I was working at Subway in Arlington making sandwiches. and
By the
was
way,
going
what was
to.
your favorite Subway sandwich at the time?
At the time, I think it was the meatball parm.
Yeah.
Was that one good? You remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I had that when I was a kid, and it
Yeah.
just kind of like was always great to me. So I
Mine
don't
was
know.
the Italian BMT.
I
Oh,
like
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That one was so good.
Sure, yeah. Made plenty of those, both
In fact,
of those.
By the way, fun
Yeah.
fact, can I add to this before I
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
interject?
Sure.
I worked at Subway too.
Oh no way.
Really?
Yes. Do you remember our friend from high school, Victor?
Yes, I remember Victor
He
very
became the
well.
manager at Subway in Rancho Cucamonga. And I was very young at the time,
Yeah.
Dylan, and I was forced to get a job. My parents were like, "You better
Sure.
pull your weight, son."
Yeah, right.
And I was like, but I was already working at 99.1.
Nice.
But it was like I was working there one day a week. And I'm like, but but my friends hear me on the radio. How are they going to see me in Subway?
Yeah,
So I had
right.
the job for a couple weeks, and you know, it was good because we got to eat a lot of sandwiches
Yeah,
and
totally. I
food. It was
remember.
really cool.
That's another awesome thing we have in common.
So great. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was working at Subway, and I was going to community college. I was skipping school a lot and writing music instead. But I was trying to figure out what to do, and I knew I wanted to do music. And then this guy who I had met in Arlington, who was sort of like a local celebrity because he was on American Idol a couple years beforehand.
Oh.
His name's Todrick Hall, and he did a bunch of flash mob videos, and like Beyonce noticed him. There's all this crazy stuff. Anyway, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to LA and I need a roommate. Do you want to be mine?" Because I had called him and I was like, "Dude, how do you do this? Like, you seem to be a person that has figured it out to me." I was like, "You're off and you're doing something in the arts." So he was just like, "Well, just come to LA. I need a roommate." So I did, and I'd never been to California ever.
That's brave.
Yeah.
You've lived your whole life in Texas.
I grew up. I spent a good amount of time in New Jersey, but I pretty much my whole youth and into my teenage years was in Texas. So
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
a whole like a lifestyle change.
Oh,
right? Going from
big
Tex-
time. Yeah.
So who do you tell that I'm moving? I'm leaving.
well, I told my parents, and I remember there was some apprehension, of course, but my mom grew up in the arts, and she's a vocal coach, and so she was understanding. And then my stepdad is a guitar player, so
Awesome.
you know, they were more accepting, I think, than a lot of parents would be. But I remember there was a lot of backlash. A lot of my teachers at the time were like, "You're going to go there just on a whim, not going to go to college. You're just going to do this." And I just said, yeah, I really thought, why not if the opportunity is there? And I sometimes look at things like that as little miracles. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, if it's now and the door's opening and I'm at a
gotta go
crossroads, it feels like maybe I should try. And so my parents and I made a deal that kind of, if nothing really had started happening at all in maybe 2 years, I would come
back.
home and, you know, refigure this out. But didn't have to.
How did you imagine Hollywood or LA before you actually made the move?
Like the movies, and just, I mean, I remember the first night that I got in, we pulled off the 101 and we had dinner at the Hard Rock on Hollywood Boulevard. And
Okay.
I'll never forget that. I remember everything about it. I remember what Hollywood Boulevard looked like to me. And it just felt like I'm here. Like it was very overwhelming. And I felt excitement and a little bit like immediately like, okay, what do I do? Like, where do I go now? I'm here. So
Yeah.
now what's the first move? So yeah, it was overwhelming, but I felt really excited. I
Yeah.
felt like, all right, I'm here now. So I really gotta figure this out, you know? Yeah.
What movies come to mind when you think of like Hollywood or LA? I think of Swingers or Almost
Yeah.
Famous.
Totally. All those.
You know,
Yep.
the traveling band. And,
Yeah.
You know, singing. What was it? What Elton John song was it? Tiny Dancer.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
And Swingers, of course, because that was in Los Feliz, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Speed.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
the Dresden,
The Dresden, yes.
which I also used to play at.
Oh,
which is
cool.
wild because
Yeah.
that place is legendary.
Yeah, totally.
Now, if you watch the movie Swingers, and well, for those who live in Hollywood, you got to know Dresden. But if you don't, there's a really cool jazz club / bar / restaurant called the Dresden, and it's been there forever. And it's in Los Feliz, and it's right there on
It's on Vermont Avenue.
Vermont, yeah,
Yeah.
and right next to the old theater.
That's right.
And there was this couple. I think you would know it better than I would. But there was this couple, and they've been playing there for how? What's the story on that?
Are you talking about Marty and Elaine?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean
He
they're
knows them personally. family, huh?
I'd met them.
Awesome.
I believe Marty passed away a few years ago, but they just kind of sang songs and covered music there for years and years and years. And I feel like because the Dresden is and was such an iconic spot, you'd get a lot of people in there and they would just get to know Marty and Elaine. It's like, hey, let's go catch Marty and Elaine. And they would just sing. And it was very cabaret style. And, they've just been in movies because of that. Like anytime there's movie scenes where you go to the Dresden, they'll usually feature them in it because they're part of the history.
Swingers.
Yeah, right. So that's the story of them. And they're, iconic Hollywood royalty.
And you got to play there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
I remember I was living alone in my apartment at the time in Central Hollywood, and I got a call, I think, from a sound guy that told me about a singer-songwriter night, and he was like, man, you should go and play this. And then I did, and then they kept inviting me back, and then I would do my own shows there sometimes. And I remember how exciting that felt to get in my car at night and just drive there and just kind of think about old Hollywood. And I'm just like, man, I'm like here, I'm doing this. And yeah, I would play and I'd, make supporters and meet people. And you meet every kind of person when you're playing at a bar that's like famous like that. Sure. So yeah, I would try out new material all the time and really grateful for that time. It felt like a little place to figure things out.
How was the crowd?
Great. I mean, usually that was the thing that I learned there is, it's kind of odd when you just show up at a place and you play music and no one's really there to see you specifically. They didn't buy a ticket.
Right.
They probably don't know who you are. They didn't come for that. And then you have to figure out a way to basically break them out of their conversation that they're having and stop them in their tracks, hopefully by what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot of artists kind of say like, hey, excuse me, like I'm playing, can we just like quiet down? And I'm like, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to perform well enough, I think, or to deliver a well-written song that makes someone stop. And so that was always the goal, was like, can I get people to actually pay attention to what I'm doing? So I think that I got pretty good at learning how to do that from playing at the Dresden.
So let's go back to you're fresh out of Arlington, Texas, and you get to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. What's going on? What's going on with you? How was your adjustment?
It was interesting because my roommate, who I mentioned, Todrick Hall, he was kind of already broken in, and he was friends with people like Tori Kelly and all these other people. So they were coming over to the apartment and stuff. So I was meeting a lot of these people very early on. And so, I didn't feel super alone, but I definitely didn't feel like I had a real community. And I was just really trying to figure out how things worked. And I was starstruck by everyone. I was intimidated by everyone. I was excited about just seeing palm trees on Highland, just like anything. I was just like, wow. And so it took me a while to adjust, but I think my excitement and my determination made me feel more comfortable than I maybe should have felt at that time.
I think a lot of people get those. A lot of people are intimidated by people in Hollywood because they're in Hollywood, they're artists.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're just regular, normal people doing their thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like that, at the time, especially when you're 18, you don't know how to tell anyone apart. It's just everyone's famous.
Yeah.
And everyone's doing better than me and everyone has a lot of money.
That's how it feels, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Did you do any like touristy stuff when you first got here?
I remember one day I just didn't have a job yet. I got a job at Starbucks later, but I didn't have a job, and I did one of those Hollywood tours where you go and you see the famous people's houses. You get in a van. The bus.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember they like drove past Bruno Mars' house and all this, and I was just like, I can't believe this.
Isn't that
crazy
wild that they're actually telling you where these celebrities live? I mean, come on. Where's the privacy?
I took one of those tours a couple years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Just to do it.
Yeah.
A couple friends of ours, and I'm like, I've never done this, and they passed by. Here's this person and this person.
Is it worth doing?
It's fun. It's fun because you're on the double decker. I did a double decker bus once so we could sit on the top.
Right.
And it was really good weather.
Yeah.
And then they stop and you you're in front of some bars when you're done, and you can kind of walk in a
Right,
restaurant or a
yeah,
bar
yeah,
afterward.
yeah.
But
Yep.
it's really, I thought it was cool.
Cowboy
Yeah.
Cantina.
And I've never done that.
Yeah.
Living here so long, I'm like, we've never done this. Let's just
Be
do
a
it.
tourist in your own city.
Yeah, be a tourist
Yeah.
in your own city. Get to see things you never see before. Because I don't really drive up Mulholland Drive or
Right.
any
Right.
of those things, and it went all the way up there. So
So you're doing a couple showcases in Hollywood, and you're still kind of new.
Yeah.
You run into Mark Ballas.
Yeah.
And at that point, he says, "Man, I think you and I can pull something off together."
Yeah, that was the craziest thing, especially thinking back on that now. That was a very pivotal moment in my life and in my career. So I didn't really have much going on. I was playing guitar for a couple different people at like one-off shows that maybe Todrick had recommended, American Idol type folks
yeah.
and stuff like that. And then, I played this songwriter night at a club in West Hollywood, and there were a lot of pretty cool people on the bill. I remember JoJo was on the bill.
Remember singer JoJo?
yeah,
Yeah, I think she sang "Too Little, Too Late" there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
God rest his soul, Aaron Carter was on
wow.
some of these, and so he's a big country artist now, Brett Young. He
yeah.
was I actually remember at one of these gigs, I was playing guitar for everyone, and he said, "This is so crazy." He was like, "Do you sing? Do you do anything?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, why don't you ever do that here?" I was like, "Well, no one asked me. Nobody knows who I am." And he was like, "I'm going to cut my set short, and I want you to get up, and I want you to sing a song." And then I sang and played an original song that I had written. And then they started inviting me back to do my own
Wow.
stuff.
that is too cool.
Yeah, Brett and I go way back, and I'm so happy for his success. I remember he bought me my first drink on my 21st birthday. We're still close. We've
That's
had a lot
awesome.
of crazy adventures
By
together.
the way, do you remember what drink that was?
I think it was an old fashioned.
As it should be.
Let's give it up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
first
That
drink.
is a very good first drink. That wasn't even my first drink.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
My first drink's probably a wine cooler.
Mine was adios mother effer. Remember that?
Nice.
Well,
Probably,
hey.
whatever. But hey,
Yeah, but speaking on Mark, I remember. He came up to me after that, and he was like, "Hey, I really liked what you were doing. We should get together and jam." And I didn't know who that was yet. I didn't watch Dancing with
You're
the
like,
Stars.
oh, okay.
I just was like, "Oh, cool. Like, here's a person to maybe play music
That's
with
probably
him."
even better.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I think he got my number from someone, and his manager at the time called me and was like, "Hey, so you're good for New York tomorrow?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, my client Mark Ballas said you're going to play with him, in New York." I feel like this is what happened. I remember I just got a random call to do this gig, and I hadn't really learned any of the music yet. And then I think we got there, and I had learned most of it. And I remember my car had just broken down. I was like really going through it, and I was terrified. I was 18 and I had no money really. I had like $1,000. That's all I came out with, and and so this kind of like saved my life. This gig, and then from there we just hit it off.
Was it a club? Was it like
It was I think called Feinstein's at the Regency or something. I mean, it was kind of nice.
Okay, that is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just me and him. And like again, I didn't even really know who he was yet. But we started hanging out and getting really close. And I'm an only child, and he became like a brother to me. And then I would go to Dancing with the Stars all the time, and I would hang out with him in his
Which
trailer.
is cool because we're
and
both only children. And we
Yeah.
were talking about
Yeah.
that. how-
Only
yeah.
child. Another thing in common.
Right? Yeah.
I owe him a lot. I'm very grateful for my, chance meeting with him and where that just kind of led. And I mean, literally we talk all the time.
Well,
and
tell
he's my brother.
Mark Ballas that I said, I don't know if he remembers me, but he was
I'm sure he
so
does.
nice to me, though.
Yeah.
He was so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, because Mark was on TV, he was doing his music thing, and he just felt like one of the guys.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Yeah.
how he carried himself, and I always remember that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
Those were good times, man.
You guys did your thing for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
So how did you blossom into your own solo thing?
Well, even during that time, I was always writing my own music, and I was playing out wherever I could. I didn't have, big shows going on or anything, but, sometimes I'd be doing a thing with Mark, and he'd say, "I want you to sing a song," or, sometimes I would, we would do like a joint bill together at a spot called Room 5 that's no longer there in Los Angeles, but it would be people like me and Mark and Haley Reinhart and Casey Abrams. And, everyone was so, even though I wasn't recording and releasing my own music, my circle of friends was always very supportive of what I was doing. And I felt it gave me a lot of confidence. And at that time too, I was trying to find, the right producer to have my sound come to life. I was mostly just playing acoustic guitar. I was backing myself very much like an Ed Sheeran or something like that around town, just constantly doing acoustic shows. But what always lived inside of me and what I was trying to emulate, even with the acoustic guitar, was soul and funk music, was trying to keep the rhythm going while I was playing by myself and get people to dance. I thought, man, if I can get people up and on their feet, just me, then I'm doing something right. I'm doing something cool. And that was kind of always what I was trying to do. I just didn't have all the resources yet.
You have an old soul.
I just love older music. I just think
what like your parents.
I do too.
Yeah.
What kind of music were your parents into?
So my mom, she's an actress, so it was a lot of show tunes in the house.
Cool.
Hearing a lot of diverse, theater. And then when my stepdad came into my life, he kind of introduced me to a lot of the Woodstock era music. And he introduced me to the guitar when I was 13, and I just wanted to learn how to play one song. If I could do that, then I was good. But then I learned how to do it, and I was like, I can't stop. I have to learn so many more. And it was eclectic, though. I was listening to the Beatles. I was listening to theater. I was listening to Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. I started listening to James Brown at that time, and that just will never leave me. The music of James Brown, I think that's what hooked me, really.
What was the first song you learned on guitar, by the way?
It was Brain Stew by Green Day.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were looking up your Spotify, and it was like, you have all these cities here. You have Amsterdam, you have Rotterdam, which you're huge in, about 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify alone. That's just Spotify. So James Brown is listed on it, but what other artists really inspired you? Because I know you were talking about the Woodstock era, and give me some names.
For me, some of my biggest heroes are people like Marvin Gaye, Sam Cooke, Al Green, Prince, Elvis. Who else? Yeah, James Brown is a big one for me. And then the singer-songwriters, the icons, James Taylor, Paul Simon. And then, when I was in high school, I was listening to Green Day a lot. American Idiot came out, and that was like my album. I couldn't stop listening to it. The Beatles, big one for me.
So what you're saying is you like actually really good music. The good music.
Yeah.
The people.
That's what I feel. Yes. I think that is some of the best music. To me, the best couple decades of music, again, just for me personally, are the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I think some of the best music of all time came out of those decades, and that's primarily all I've listened to since I first discovered it, and even still to this day, that's really all I listen to.
Okay, so you go back in time, and you get to watch an artist or musician or band that are no longer with us. Who?
Well,
So many.
I didn't get to see Prince when he was alive, and I really would have loved to.
I feel the same way.
That's my biggest regret.
Sometimes I go on YouTube and I search Prince live, and I just watch how he opens up with "Let's Go Crazy."
Yeah, Let's Go Crazy.
Oh, what a great opener!
Incredible performer, and I will always regret that. Would always be my biggest regret. Not going to his concert.
There's a lot of Prince lore out there, so it's really fun to hear these personal stories that maybe a lot of people don't know from the musicians that played with them. And I always keep those in my back pocket because they're just cool. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the people who are alive then.
Sure.
Who have been some of the most incredible, memorable performances that you've seen, or artists that you've seen live in concert?
Sure. I saw Silk Sonic in Vegas, and that was incredible. Man, let's see. I recently went to this festival. I don't know if y'all heard about this. It was called the Fool in Love Festival.
I just heard of that.
Oh my gosh, of course you would. Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
What was that like?
Oh, it was crazy. So me and my friend Haley Reinhart, we went there together, and we both love classic music. Like we grew up on that. It's like what we live and breathe. So, it was one of the best days of my life, honestly. Got there right when it started. and I'm going to leave some people out, but in one day, I mean, mind you, that's like maybe 10 hours, I saw Al Green, Smokey Robinson, Lionel Richie, Diana Ross, the OJs, Dionne Warwick, Al Green, The Temptations.
Wow.
I mean, it was just like everyone who I've listened to since forever.
That's
I
like
got
the
to see
old school oldies Coachella.
Yeah, yes, it was. And man, I was having the time of my life. I was just getting emotional. I was just like, they're right there. All these people.
Was the festival put together well? Because sometimes these new festivals,
I know. I've gone to a lot of those lately.
Yeah, there were some sound issues going on and stuff, but to me, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care if I couldn't really hear. Actually, I would have cared if I couldn't hear them, but just I wanted to be in their presence. I mean, these are my heroes, and they're probably in the last. I feel badly saying this, but I think it's true to life. I think they're in the last part of their lives.
Yeah.
So for someone like me, born in my generation, to see these people while they're alive was a gift that is priceless.
Because you recently went to the Freestyle Festival, right?
Yeah, a few times I've gone, and it's been just an incredible night. And the last one I went to, probably a huge regret that I went. I should have sold the tickets on this one because I've gone to them in the past. It was 105 in LA. It's never 105.
It was
in
remember
LA.
that hot era.
Yes, I do.
Downtown, it was 105, and I couldn't believe it. And it was awful. There was no fans out there.
Oof.
There was like no free water. Everybody was passing out. It was kind of one of those things, so you couldn't enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And I could hear people performing, and I'm like, oh, I really want to dance to this, but if I dance, I'm gonna fall on the floor.
Yeah.
I love concerts. I've seen so many oldies concerts. I used to go to Art Laboe.
Who have we seen together?
I used to do all of those, and those are my favorite.
Who do we see together in concert? We've gone to a few.
We've gone Dua Lipa.
Oh, we did Dua Lipa.
Cool.
We've gone to the iHeart Radio Music Festival.
The very
in
first
Vegas.
one.
Really?
In Vegas,
Yeah. Morrissey at the Hollywood Bowl.
Morrissey.
Oh yeah, you love Morrissey. I remember we talked about that.
Loves
Yeah, man.
Morrissey.
Good choice. I mean, he's
do.
great.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Morrissey if you're watching.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
He's not
Yeah.
watching.
He's going to be
Hey,
on the show
Morrissey.
next.
Yeah.
He's going to be on here next, by the way.
I'm so happy that we're talking about this because Dylan, you're what I appreciate and what I like is real raw talent. There's and luckily we're in Southern California, so we get to be surrounded by a lot of that. But at the same time, I've worked in radio for such a long time, and we've gone from this to this. The world has changed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about music and I guess pop music and where it's been, where it's going? I guess overall, because I know we have a lot of similarities in what we like, but you have some great insight too because you're in the music industry.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, obviously Quincy Jones just passed away. He's been a hero of mine, and he has always said there's only two kinds of music: good and bad. And it doesn't really come down to genres and this and that. And I think when I was a little bit younger, I was a little more judgy about that. Oh, they're trying to be this and they're not really, it's not authentic. Just forget all that. When you drop the ego and you just kind of look at it like, do I think this is good, quote unquote, or bad? So, there's soul in every type of music. Maybe it doesn't connect with you, but there's a life inside all these songs that we hear on the radio, things like that. And so I just kind of look at it from that sort of point of view now. And I just think good on everyone for doing what they do. Maybe some of it's not for me, but especially now, having been an artist and a musician and a professional for years at this point, I'm not as judgy because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So maybe something again doesn't connect with me, but I'm still like, you're doing it. And that is really hard to do. 1 in a million, if you're on the radio and crushing it and playing the Hollywood Bowl. So I think pop music is where it is and where it needs to be because that's what's happening. And then it's going to change again. But I will say, I do think that there is sort of an open-mindedness that's coming to fruition again. A lot with the independent artists, there is a soul and funk resurgence happening. And it might not be the mainstream, but it's there and it's coming fast. And it's very exciting because I've been waiting for that for years and I knew the pendulum would swing. So even like Dua Lipa, you're hearing disco in that. There's throwback it's not all just pop and two chords anymore. There's more music per square inch in some of the pop music that's out now, and I'm a big fan of that. So,
well, if I can relate that to radio, I mean, radio is doing the radio that's doing really well is the radio that's playing music that's familiar.
Right.
The good feel, the good feeling type of music, where I work at now at Cola. I mean, we play all the good music from, 80s, 90s, but it's always the pot. It's the uplifting. It's the, it's the high energy. It's the good stuff. And that we do really well.
Yeah. And I'm sure those songs are played too, not just because they're uplifting or they make people feel good, but they're just good songs. That stuff, as time goes by, the cream rises to the top. So, I wonder what that's going to be like, in 20, 30 years, who's still going to be played from this generation and things like that. But it's going to be the best of the best, and we'll see who that is really maybe as time passes,
Okay, so let's talk about this then. The band. Okay, so I read this or I saw this on YouTube where bands no longer have the chance to survive like they used to back in the day because labels don't want to pay every member and every pull they got, and that's why you don't see too many new bands coming to life anymore, and it's really just solo. Everybody's a solo act.
Yeah.
Why do you think? I mean, is that the case, or why do you think that is?
I mean, I'm sure it's different for every single band out there. Maybe one doesn't stay together because financially it's hard to do this. Maybe another time is because there's tension. I don't know what it is. But, I can just say from experience in my, 12 to 14 years of being out here now, I've seen a lot of people go home. I've seen a lot of bands break up. I'm sure y'all have too.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that less bands are performing together and it's more solo acts?
Yeah, I mean, in the mainstream, I would say so. But again, this is why I'm grateful to Spotify and things like this. Hot take. I know everyone's upset about it, and I get that as a songwriter and all that. We get into that, but for me, you discover lots of groups out there that might not be the Beyoncés of the world or whoever that is. And they're crushing it, and they've got hits on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's not a radio hit, but they've got millions of streams. And then you go and you see them, and there are bands out there. Everyone finds them differently. It's just maybe not as in the mainstream. I would say.
That's a good point. The good thing about Southern California is there's a lot of live venues that you can pick from and choose from and go watch.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that. Why don't we do that more often? Why don't we go out to these venues and watch these new acts coming up? Because there's a lot, right?
I like the small, intimate venues.
Totally.
It makes the sound so nice. It's like an exclusive crowd.
Well, what's great is too, you get to meet the musician.
And you get to meet the musician. Yeah.
Totally.
Talk afterwards. Exactly.
And here's the other thing. Sometimes you have somebody famous in the crowd watching you. Sometimes has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Give me like one or two. You're just doing your thing and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This person is there watching
Especially
me?
if you get good feedback and they say how much they like you. Imagine how that's an honor.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, when I was first out here and I was, accepted and put on these bills with people like Mark and, Haley Reinhart, who'd crushed on American Idol and things like that, there were fans of theirs that would be there, and then I would play, and then sometimes I would make a fan from that. One person specifically, I played the Beach Life Festival in 2021, I believe, and Justin, what's his name? He's on This Is Us.
Hartman or
yeah. Anyway,
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, him and his wife were there in the crowd, and I had some people there that were like, "Yo, he was there, and he was like really grooving to you." So I reached out to him on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, I heard you were there," and he was like, "Big fan, dude! Like followed me." And I was like, cool. Josh Peck was there, okay. Yeah, man, I think what feels the best for me personally, like it's always nice to have support, but when someone that I love and respect musically, when that's reciprocated, That feels really good. And one of those recently is Alan Stone. I don't know if y'all know who Alan Stone is.
Of course.
So, that's someone who I just played his music festival in Spokane. He invited me out and we got to get up together on stage. And I've been listening to him for like 10 years.
He's a legend, right? I mean, this is Alan Stone we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this field of music where it's soul related. And he's got his own voice in that kind of modern day soul thing. And so that was crazy.
He performed with the Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, he opened for them.
And yes, and that's how I got to see Alan Stone. And it was incredible. And by the way, you do know one of the guys from Dave Matthews Band, right?
Yeah, Rashawn Ross. I mean, he was in Mark's band. So,
That's awesome.
Dude, when I played in Mark's band, where you would go to Sayers, I mean, that band was like A-list people. We had Rashawn Ross. Who else was in that? Bob Reynolds, who played with John Mayer forever. And we had lots of people. Catisse Buckingham, who's a flute player. You would know him because if you've seen Anchorman, the jazz flute scene,
yes,
that's actually Catisse recording it.
Oh, wow.
So he was in the band. And again, I'm 18, 19, never been to music school, fresh out here, and I wind up in a band with these people. So there was this intensity that I was feeling was like, man, you gotta be good.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even go hang out in the bar or club area yet because I was underage. So when you were going to Sayers, I was hanging out in the back in the office.
You were underage when I first saw you at the Sayers Club, and
dude.
And you couldn't hang out when you were done.
No, I had to go in the office and I'd bring a book and I'd be reading a new book every week. And Rashawn Ross would come back there and be, what are you reading this week, man? And he would sit with me and we'd just talk about whatever. And it's so crazy.
How is that guy? Is he cool?
He's very cool, very nice and very loving. And just again, he's the thing that's cool about Rashawn, and I've noticed this with a lot of really pro musicians, is they love to play music. So they'll play for, 2 people at a bar somewhere, and then the next week they'll be playing a stadium with Dave Matthews or someone. They don't care. I've been on the most random gigs and then they'll be there just playing with me. And I'm like, awesome. It's because when you love music, that's what you do. It doesn't matter about, well, is it this stat? Is it, there's this many people there?
Yeah.
We're musicians, man. We play music.
Yeah.
So that's what we do wherever and whenever,
Who are some of your musicians that you've seen live that are pretty incredible that you want to share?
Well, you know what? Surprisingly, I like Morrissey, but you love Morrissey. And I had not seen him live. And to go to the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Which is a great outdoor venue.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure you've
our
been there.
seats were we actually had the box seats.
Yeah, we had the box
first
seats
time,
in the front. And
cool.
they were just like incredible. You could sit there, they bring you your food, bring you your drinks. And it was just a great atmosphere.
And by the way, that was the night that Michelle came up with the idea. And she's like, well, Freddie, you're back from Texas.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I said, well, you
Why
should
don't we
just
do
have
a
your own show.
podcast?
Yeah.
This was her idea.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
well,
way back then, a few years back now.
Yeah.
So who else? What are the musicians?
You know what concert I like? You were with me at another one that I really, really loved, Mumford & Sons. Oh, that was such a...
Yeah.
Another outdoor venue.
I didn't know what to expect because we were there and I kind of knew one song from them, And I'm like, okay, so like this little banjo band.
Yeah, I've known a few of their songs, so it was cool to hear them all live. And then after I listened to all of their songs.
When they came on stage, it was a whole different ballgame.
They were jamming, man.
They were phenomenal.
I didn't know what to expect really because a few friends told me they loved that band, and I'm like, let's go see them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there was 4 of us, right? My sister was there, and a friend of ours was there. You know who I really, really liked live? Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
a lot.
She was great.
Yeah,
she
I hear
sings
she's great.
acapella. She turns off. Well, she did for my con. She turned off all the music.
Yeah.
All and everything, and just sang.
Yeah.
So you could just hear her voice without anything playing. And I was like, wow, it gave me chills to hear her,
Yeah, well, these people are musicians, like Lady Gaga is musically inclined. She could sit down. She knows how to play the piano. Mumford & Sons are a bunch of instrumentalists.
Yep.
I think that goes a long way when you really learn your craft, and you learn how to actually write songs and play instruments and get music out of it. And then, so these people, they're well trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's talk about venues because there's a lot of historic venues here in Southern California. We got the Hollywood Bowl that you mentioned. We got the Greek Theater. We got the Forum in Inglewood. We got a couple new ones.
Yeah.
You've already performed at a few of them, but what's like a dream venue for you, Dylan?
Ooh, I think the Hollywood Bowl would be really cool, or the Forum, mostly because of their history, and I just like them. I've gone to both of them a lot, and some of my favorite artists of all time have played both. So I mean, I'm talking about from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix to the Eagles. I mean, the Forum was like the Eagles' home, in the 70s.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep,
well,
yep.
and Irving Azoff, their manager, owns it and all that. So there's a lot of. I'm always trying to go do the things that if I had a time machine, I would have tried to do them then. So the ones that are still there, I want to try to do them now.
Yeah. I went to go see 21 Pilots at the brand new Intuit Dome in Inglewood.
Oh, okay.
How was that?
It's a beautiful venue. I mean, it's like you have to have a digital wallet to go, though. They don't accept cash anywhere.
A
Right.
lot of places
Nothing
are
is
like that now.
It's
Yeah.
almost like they don't even want the actual physical plastic card either. They want just get your phone and beep.
Yeah.
They have facial recognition. There's a monitor on each seat to monitor how loud you are, not for concerts, but for basketball games.
Whoa.
Because what they do is they upgrade people in the nosebleeds if they're really loud. And
Crazy.
they bring them down closer to the
my
floor.
gosh,
Yeah,
that's
it's incredible.
really cool.
Oh, wow.
The venue
Technology.
is closer in on the court.
Yeah.
Very vertical.
I
So
noticed that
you
when
get
I was
high
looking
very
at the
quickly.
virtual tours.
Okay.
You're closer to the center,
Yep.
but you get high very quickly. Whereas the Forum, I still think to this day, the Forum is the best venue for music.
I like the
Forum's great.
I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but I love it.
Yeah.
I do.
My wife and I just saw Casey Musgraves there on her Deeper Well tour. And it sounded great. And I always like going there. I've seen quite a few people there. And yeah, I agree. I think it's a great venue.
It's a great venue. I
Yeah.
just saw Kendrick Lamar and Friends.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That
yeah.
was incredible. I don't even know how to describe that.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Wow.
And he brought so many people out.
Uh-huh. That's rad.
I can't think who I saw last at the Forum. I don't know. It's all a blur at this point.
Yeah, sure.
He's been to so many concerts, he probably can't even keep track.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I make a list on my iPhone just to keep track because I
Yeah.
like to do a recap
That's a
at the
good
end of the
idea.
year.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good
cool.
idea because
Yeah.
he does his favorite or top 10 or top 5 concerts of,
Yeah, I do,
of the
yeah.
year.
Nice.
Well, this time I didn't do 10 concerts. I only did like 6, so I
Yeah.
got to do a top 5. Can
That's
you
still
believe
pretty-
that?
Top
That's-
5.
Oh my gosh, poor me.
You went all the way
Poor
down
me.
to 6 only?
Still pretty good, man.
But we're
That's pretty good.
what's the plan, Dylan? Because I really want, and here's what I was even thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do this off the air and I'll cut it, but I wanted to buy a couple tickets, pairs of your next performance, your next venue.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to like give them away to somebody,
Oh, that's
like
nice.
do a little a contest or something
Yeah.
like that, and then we go as a big group or something like that.
I would love that, man.
Yeah.
We should do something like that.
Please. Yeah, you're always welcome, both
Man,
of you.
Yeah.
we can get a pretty nice sized group to get like a little party bus and go out there, and
Yep.
we would love to see you perform, Dylan. I mean,
Yeah, man.
love. I mean, in a heartbeat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we played a really cool gig not too long ago when I dropped my debut EP earlier this year, and I had a release party for it downtown, and we just decided to make it free and open the bar and just have a
cool.
whole thing and throw a big party. And I brought my full band, so we had an 8-piece band with horns and everything.
Goodness.
And we just let it go, and it was just so fun. I didn't want there to be tickets. I didn't want there to be anything. I just
Yeah.
wanted people to
Yeah.
have a good time, and obviously that's not always going to be the case, but
Sure.
I just wanted to celebrate. And, it's like, this is a heavy time in our country and stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to help maybe create a pocket of happiness for an hour if possible.
Yeah.
So, but that was really fun. And yeah, so y'all definitely come out. I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
have a great time. We got
course.
the full band, and it's definitely a soul and funk party for sure.
That's
So-
so awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Dave Koz and Lunchmoney Lewis. Because
Yeah.
these guys are legends, and they've been doing their thing for such a long time.
Yeah,
and,
man.
And you were able to not only just link up with them, but you did a freaking song with them.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Man, it's so crazy. So a little backstory. I've been a fan of Lunch Money's music since he put out Bills, which was this big hit. I think it was like 2015
How
or
does that song
2016.
go, Bills?
I got bills.
Yeah,
I
remember that
gotta
song?
pay.
Yep.
I'm
Yep,
gonna work
yep, yep.
every day. So good. So man, okay. The first time I'd ever heard Lunch Money Lewis, I was hired to back Sabrina Carpenter at the 2015 Radio Disney Music Awards.
Wow.
So-
and by the way, Sabrina Carpenter has been doing her hustle for a very long time.
I know she has. Yeah, I mean, this was a while
She's
ago.
killing it.
Yeah, this was crazy. It was right after I got off the Dancing with the Stars tour with Mark. I was a singer and guitar player on that, and he got me on that. So I did that with him. And then after that, I got the call to back her. And I just remember the first time I heard Lunchmoney Lewis at some of those award shows. They'll, like, when you're standing on stage getting ready to go, they'll hype up the crowd, kind of like at any kind of TV thing. And they played Bills. And I remember standing there ready to go. And I was like, what is this? This is amazing. And then we did her song. And I just kept thinking about that after. And then I discovered his music. I went down this rabbit hole. And so basically how Lunch Money came into the picture on my song was I went to high school with, well, he's a songwriter out here now. His name's Greg Hine, but he goes by All Day, and he just wrote Flowers for Miley Cyrus. So that's my best friend. We've been friends since we were in junior high school.
Your best friend is the writer for Miley Cyrus's Flowers.
Since we were kids, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You did a great job on that song.
That song was written for my ex-girlfriend, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's continue.
Yeah. No, I'm sure a lot of people's ex-girlfriends.
Yeah,
But yeah, man. So anyway, we lived together in Hollywood. He was sleeping on my couch for a while, and we would write songs all the time. Flash forward to a few years ago, we wrote High When I'm Low together. It was me, him, and then my friend and co-producer who I do a bunch of my stuff with. His name's Stefan Litt. The three of us wrote this. And the second verse it was different. And then Greg, I'm going to call him Greg. His name's All Day, but I'm not going to call him that. I'm going to call him Greg.
And by the way, hasn't All Day like won like a Grammy or something like that? Like,
yeah.
He's like, this guy's like legit.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, he won, I think, earlier this year for that. So anyway, Greg and I were talking after, and he was like, dude, you know who would be great on this is Lunchmoney Lewis. And I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, sure, that's a great thought. And I was like, I don't know how we'd ever make that happen. And he was like, dude, I've worked with him now. Like, I'll just send it to him and see. And I was like, you're kidding me. And he was like, yeah, man, like, who knows? Maybe. And so then I hadn't really heard about anything in a long time, kind of put that off in the back of my head. And I remember I was somewhere in the country and I was playing, and I got a text from Greg, and it was just a file. And I clicked it, and it was Lunchmoney Lewis doing the second verse on my song. And I was like, what? Like, how did this happen? And he was like, dude, he loved it, whatever. And so then we were put in touch, and I talked with him. And I've known Dave Koz for years. I used to play at his restaurant, and it's no longer there. It was in Beverly Hills. And I was in a house band there, met him. We became close. He puts on a music cruise every year and has invited me on that. It goes around the world. I've done that maybe 8 or 9 times now as a guest artist. He married my wife and I. So I just was like, man, it would be insane. This needs a sax solo. And like, who better than the king of sax? I was like, I'll see if Dave will do it. We already got lunch. So I just texted it to Dave, and I thought he was going to say no. I just know he's a busy guy. He was like, absolutely. Like, let's do it. Let's get in the studio. And then the first time that I actually met Lunch was at a photo shoot for the promo of the song High When I'm Low. And it was me, Dave, and Lunch Money in my friend's living room, who's a photographer. Her name's Alex Lang. I do all my photos with her. So, like, the fact that, like, all of this came together from just my friend in junior high, working hard out here, hustling, becoming an amazing songwriter, getting with Lunchmoney Lewis, doing that on his end, and then I brought Dave in on my. I mean, it's just like the craziest thing. I would have never thought that would have happened ever in my life.
Do you know what I see, Dylan Chambers, when I look at you and I hear you and as we've been friends and everything?
Yeah.
You know, I sincerely, I see like a legend here, like who's going to be phenomenally legendary, that the world is going to know. You know, it's going to be a household name. Yeah. And we got him right here.
Oh, man.
In this little house, this little city.
He came all the way over here to see us.
All the way from Hollywood.
Happily, by the way.
Here, man. And no, I'm serious. I feel that. I go, you know, it's not everybody has that. And you got us something, man. You got something special.
Man, thank you. Well, dude, if I'm being honest, I mean, you know, again, I moved to LA. I'm 18, and I remember seeing you at Sayers, and I was like, dude, that's that guy from Kiss FM. Like, I can't believe, you know, really? Yeah, dude. So, you know, I mean, it's still a little wild to me that all these years later, you know, especially when I wasn't doing my artist thing, I was backing people in the city, that I'm here now with you. Because I think you're pretty legendary, man. And so it's pretty special to be here.
JoJo was there, and I wouldn't have been there without JoJo.
Yeah.
JoJo was the reason why I was there in the first place. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember that night, it may have been the first or second night you guys performed at Sayers with Mark Ballas and Dylan Chambers. And I think it's a Jack and Coke in my hand, right? As we're watching you guys perform live.
Yeah.
Sitting right next to me on the same couch.
Yeah.
Candace Cameron
Bure. Yeah.
Bure from Full House.
Yeah.
Is right there.
Yeah, she was on Dancing with the Stars. So the crazy thing about, being just hanging out on the set all the time with Mark was I would meet all of his partners and like get to know them fairly well. So like even like Sadie Robertson from the Robertsons, the Duck Dynasty family, like I've had Thanksgiving over at their house.
No kidding. Have you really?
Yeah, in West Monroe, Louisiana with Mark and gotten to know Candace, quite a bit. Allie Raisman, gold medalist. Just all these people. And so I was like seeing all these people all the time. Alfonso Ribiero, who played Carlton. He was on the
Did you learn
Dancing.
how to do the Carlton?
I tried. I did. I remember we were in like Gary, Indiana. We were somewhere on that Dancing with the Stars tour, and we went bowling. The group of us, and Alfonso was there. And I remember I beat him. I got a higher score, and right after I bowled my strike, I turned around and I did the Carlton to him to kind of rub it in.
What did he do?
He was like, "Oh man!" Yeah, it was fun. I was just like, I have to. I gotta, I just beat him in bowling, and I was good at bowling that one day of my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have your parents come to see you a few times? I'm sure.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, when I've gone back to Texas to play, they've been there at some of those shows and stuff too. But
what is it like when you go back to Texas? Yeah, I'm sure you performed at a couple, maybe a venue or two, or
yeah. I mean, there's always a pretty nice turnout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's special because I was playing music in junior high and high school. There's a lot of people out there that remember when I first picked up the guitar, and like my teachers were so supportive. They'd let me like play in class sometimes. They'd like, Dylan's going to play a little concert, like they were very encouraging. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. And I think the thing that I'm the most grateful for is that I've stuck with it. There's definitely been hardships, and it's not easy. This life is not easy. It's very uncertain, but to me, it's just what I know. It's what I love. I can't see myself doing anything else. And uncertainty breeds excitement. It's not always scary. It's just like the ground forms underneath you, and man, what an adventurous life I've already been able to live, and there's still so much to do, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. It's always kind of what I've had in my heart, and for it to be my reality now is quite surreal.
I feel like, if you have an uncertain career like being a musician, and there's always the instability of it, you never know the next day if you're going to have a gig or whatever. But I guess the pro to that is you have this undying hunger for your career that it overpowers the fear of, not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what drives a lot of us, because I feel the same way with radio, it's like, am I always constantly scared I'm going to lose my gig? No. I mean, I know I'm aware, but my hunger, I'm so hungry inside, and I almost cannot help the fact that I need to do this.
Of course, I understand.
Me.
Yeah. But I think that's what makes you great. I think that you specifically.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it's because it's in there, and it's really like you don't have a choice in the matter.
I've said that
It's
before,
bigger than you.
Exactly. It's like embedded in our DNA.
Right.
Yep.
So this is the first time, by the way, that we've actually had a musician who brought his guitar.
Yeah. I think
The ghosts are coming.
Yeah,
is it Halloween soon?
The ghosts are here.
Oh, that's all good. Speaking of, I pulled up in this lawn right next door. There's like all these like crazy decorations.
Yeah, you're like, where am I? What
like,
is this?
It's like really elaborate too. Like just like it's amazing.
Yeah, for Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't taken it down yet.
I was like, I love this. This is great. I mean, to me, this is what I always say, because people are like, well, it's so hard. And I'm like, well, anything is at first, but then you get a little bit better. Maybe you suck for a year and then you're a little bit better the next year. It's just the fighting through something. Yeah. And to me, I just felt such a connection to it when I first picked it up. And it just felt like my weapon. It felt like I felt protected by it. Yeah. And that was such an interesting thing. I still do. And and it's like, it's another way to speak to people. It's amazing to have another voice. You really only have this one, but until you pick up an instrument and you really learn what you're doing with it, it's a whole other way it's another language to communicate. And so I don't think about it in terms of hard. I think about it in terms of it's another way to express myself. And so I would say if you feel that way, just look at it like that. Break through the calluses on your fingers or whatever. You know, your wrists hurting from playing the piano. It's a way to speak.
We're here in Montclair.
Yep.
We need more live venues. We have the Canyon in Montclair
Which
inside the mall.
I've still never been there.
I haven't either.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Wow.
It's nice. Yeah.
So you've been out here before?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Who knew?
I'm a musician, man. I'm gonna go everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So what were you here in Montclair for?
I think I saw, was it Robbie Krieger from The Doors? My friend Haley Reinhardt's played here.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got some cool, decent acts that come through.
I have seen. I've never been to the Canyon. I was always like, it's at the mall.
Yeah.
I only go there for AMC.
Yeah, no, it's cooler than what you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we have the Toyota Arena, and that's a great arena.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool
Elton
venue.
John's performed. Everybody's performed at the Toyota Arena.
Right.
But we also have the Glen Helen Pavilion, which is a big outdoor, pavilion.
Yeah.
Post Malone performed there just
we
recently.
went.
Oh,
we
cool.
went to see Post Malone.
Yes. Oh, so the concert we went to together,
Yeah,
right?
another
Yeah.
one went to together.
We have a few venues out here that are pretty awesome.
Good.
But I was just thinking, I guess, around here, but I forgot the Canyon. That's right.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool because it's smaller, nice,
Right.
intimate venue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
we have to check out an artist there soon.
Yeah, for sure. You should definitely go.
And did you see that Dave Matthews Band got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I did see that.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I think very deserved. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was hoping for them, but it was The Cure the last time around.
Oh,
so
right.
The Cure got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and now Dave Matthews Band. I'm like, it's all making sense.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was, I think, 16 and I got my license, I would just drive around in my car and I would listen to the Dave Matthews record called Big Whiskey and the Gru Grux King. I wore
album.
that out. It was right after their saxophone player passed away.
Yep.
And I just thought it was so good. There's a lot of understated funk in that band. They're pretty eclectic, but I know there's a lot of people that like kind of hate on them or something. I don't really get that. I think that they make good art, But yeah, I'm really glad to see them and to see Rashawn Ross up there.
Yeah,
I was like, man,
awesome.
I was playing bands with him.
If he's ever around, I would love to meet him.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I have so many, Dave Matthews Band DVDs. I'm like,
Yeah,
on
man.
a Friday night, I'm like, where's Freddie at? He's not at the party.
Yeah,
Where do you go?
that's so cool.
So for your listening pleasure, that is the name of the EP, and that Dave Koz, Lunchmoney Lewis. But there's a couple other tracks on that EP that are phenomenal.
Yeah.
they're really good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we got Corey Wong on there as well.
Who's Corey Wong?
Yeah, Corey Wong is, he's a modern day guitar hero. He's in the band Wolfpack, which is really big in the soul and funk thing. Besides their music being great, they're really good with their business. They sold out Madison Square Garden without having management or I think even a booking agent potentially. And so, they're doing the thing. And so Corey's in that band. He's also got his own solo career and he's great. And plays a lot of funk guitar. So that was really fun to do that track with him. And then G Love is on it as well. Big in the 90s and early 2000s. And, just really cool to even look at the credits on my debut EP, which is all independent, and see those other names there. I feel very honored to have these people on there. It's, these are people that I've looked up to and currently look up to. So to have music out there with them is really special, especially on my project. It's crazy.
Have you gone like on a mini tour of the EP, or is that?
No, I've opened for some bands doing like spot dates and stuff.
You just did the Bellwether, right?
Yeah, I just played the
How was
Bellwether.
that? And by the way, I was about to call you and say, hey, let's go.
Oh yeah,
I was going to buy tickets, and I was going to say, Michelle and I, let's go watch this. And I even looked up the other band too.
Yeah.
And I had to work that night. So I couldn't go. I was like,
No, I know how it goes. That was great though, man. So I opened for this band called Melt, and we're talking about this kind of soul resurgence thing, or just like very musical bands that really like these are schooled musicians.
Melt is very eclectic too, right?
Yeah. And Veronica, the lead singer, is a powerhouse. Just such a great, incredible vocalist. And so, it again, I love to play shows and do all that, but especially when I get paired up with people that I really like, and then there's like sort of like a mutual interest in each other. That just I'm just like, man, I'm right at home. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, and this community, I'm in this community of like really great people, and like that's really what I want. I want to be with those people.
Aren't those moments, so important though? It's like the moments of realizing. Or there's a moment, there's an event that happens in your life and it reminds you that, okay, yes, I am doing the right thing.
Yes.
And yes, I am on the right course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That always feels good when you can reflect back on that, for sure.
How was the Bellwether, by the way? That used to be a nightclub, right?
Used to be Prince's nightclub.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Even
man.
better.
I never knew that.
So that was cool, to be in there. It's a newer venue. They refurbished it and made it real nice. I think it's really cool in there. You guys got to go. It's a great venue.
Can we make a promise? We got to start doing more live shows.
I know. I like the small live shows. They're
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely check out.
I think the hard part for me is a lot of the shows are during the week.
Yeah.
They are. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I get it.
Yeah, and I work so much the opposite way that it's.
We were talking about remote working, and you need to do more remote working.
I know they won't let me.
Remote working.
They won't let me for a while.
Live from the Bellwether.
Who won't let you? What do you mean?
Work won't let me. They're like, not today, not this time.
Sure.
Speaking of travel, I wanted to go back to this because it's freaking interesting that you were on a ship.
Yeah.
Performing.
Yeah, let's go back to that tour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the Koz Cruise?
Yes.
Yeah, the cruise.
Oh, man. So I've done that now. I think this was my 9th one.
What's it called?
So Dave Koz he's a jazz artist.
Yeah.
And it's called the Dave Koz and Friends at Sea Cruise. And it's all artist based. So you go on because you're going to hear music. It's not for any other reason. So there's that. And then
So what you're saying is I don't have to worry about anybody that was some douchebag taking his shirt off on top of a speaker and.
No, you're not going to really find that type of crowd on these things.
I'm there.
For sure.
Sounds like a great cruise.
Yeah, it's so well done, and I feel so honored to be a part of it and to be a part of this family. So yeah, I mean, man, the first one I did, I was, I don't know, in my mid-20s, and I did. We went to the Caribbean. Let's see, I've been to Italy. I've been to Australia.
But what is that? What is life like on the ship for you as an artist? I mean, so you get your own room.
Yeah.
Are you by yourself in that room? Or?
Yeah. I mean, usually, yeah. I mean, unless, if I have like my wife come out for one of the weeks or something. But yeah, I mean, it's always, I have my own room for sure.
So how do you spend your days on the ship, when you're not performing, I guess?
Being a fan of everyone else.
That's cool. You get to watch the other people.
Of course. I mean, some of these people are legends, and I'm always a student. I mean, I love playing music, but I'm never ever going to be at a point where I'm like, I don't need to learn anymore. So I'm awesome. Constantly taking that in and watching other people and hanging out with some of the guests and just living it up. It's somewhat of a vacation. It gives the illusion of that a little bit for me. So I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Really cool.
They say, a good pilot is always learning.
Yeah, well,
and a good musician
that's what they say.
is always learning.
Yeah. I mean,
it's so true.
Well, you got to, man, because then you're dead when you're not. Like,
yeah,
it's true. When you get too comfortable and you're like, oh, whatever,
That's scary. That thought to me.
Stagnant. Yeah.
Well, just because time keeps rolling on, and if you're not going along with it, that's like you're like freezing.
Yep.
You're right. And one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life so far. Is when I went to Dallas and I spent about a year there.
Right.
And I came back to LA.
Yep.
And what I've learned, here's what I learned.
I don't even want to know what you're going to say.
I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's what I've learned is that when I came back home to LA, the world moves on without you just fine.
Yeah.
And I was looking around and I'm like, who are all these people?
Yeah, but everything
who are all
changed.
These stores?
And it was only a year.
Quickly.
Was it only a year?
It was a year. Yeah, it was only 1 year. Yeah, it was just a year. And
it felt like forever for me.
Well, I mean, a pandemic then happened, and the whole world changed after that.
Well, yeah.
But so it's an important lesson and a reminder. The world will move on without you. So if you have the blessings of an incredible career like that you do, and that I do, and we do, it's something to cherish it and be grateful for it because, man, I tell you, not everybody gets to have a good career.
No, most people don't.
You're right. Most people don't. That's true. Okay, so you get the chance to open up or even be a part of somebody's tour. Who's been on that list for you? Personally, who's been on that list for you as far as musician, band, or whoever?
I'd love to tour with Alan. I think that would be great. There have been people that have said, man, you should go open for Bruno Mars and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's because people are hearing that we must have similar inspirations. And sometimes I don't know how well that works on a bill. Yeah. Do I think we could complement each other? Yeah. I mean, again, we're talking about Bruno Mars here. Bruno Mars is like, in the stratosphere, but I respect him a lot. And I think it would be really, really cool to make music with him or be on a tour, anything. But I'm open to whatever, man. I just want to play music. So like whatever comes my way, great. I'm excited to just get out there in front of people and keep doing my thing,
So I have a question that I really want to know.
Sure. Yeah.
What is it like to tour?
I think it's awesome. There's a lot of people that don't like it, but I always look at it as a privilege.
Can you walk me through it? Like what is it like?
Sure. In my experience, okay, I'll start with like a bus tour. All right. So you get on the bus and you just go and you drive and you have your own time and everyone sleeps on the bus and, it gets crowded sometimes and it's hard to have your own space, but then you take a step back and you go, look at what I'm doing. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. Even if I've got someone this close to me, whatever, like I could be doing worse.
Got to get along with them pretty well, I would think. Right?
Yeah.
Or get to know people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you would anywhere else too. So, it's like that. And then, sometimes you wake up in a new city and sometimes people don't want to go explore. I do. I always want to just.
That's what I would do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, even if it's somewhere that like maybe there isn't a rock and roll Hall of Fame there or a cool museum or something, like I don't care. To me, I just think about all the people that don't get to see the world or even just this country. So for me, I just look at it and I'm very grateful. So you'll always see me out and about, taking in the culture, talking to people, and then you'll get to the venue and hang out in the, your green room for a while. Hopefully there's showers. Some have them, some don't. And then you got your sound check. There's a lot of hang time and then you play your show and usually have catering, beforehand or after. Yeah. And then you get on the bus and you wait for a little while. Maybe you see some fans beforehand and and then you get on the bus and you go and it's just that over and over again. Maybe a couple days off to do whatever, to rest, hopefully. But yeah, it can be a lot, but again, it's an adventure and I like adventure. Not a lot of people do.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I love adventure,
The no sleep, that's me, the no sleep and just do everything that you can.
Right.
Day after day after day.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. For sure.
Is there a lot of crazy parties when you're on the road, when you're on tour?
Yeah, totally. I mean, in my experience of doing some bus tours, honestly, when I did the Dancing with the Stars tour in I think 2016, the back section, there's the front section and then there's this middle section that's got all the bunks and all that. Yeah. And then there's another section in the back and like that back part was like the club. Yeah. Like every night, and
You're not getting any sleep over there.
Not really. I mean, but we were having fun, and like if everyone could perform and do their job, that's cool. But again, I was in my like early 20s and like that was my first tour I ever did. So I felt like I got spoiled. I wasn't in a broken down van. I was on a Justin Timberlake sized tour bus with all these people and I was just taking it all in. I was just having fun and that was a good time. Exhausting sometimes, but yeah, so.
You'll sleep when you die.
Exactly. That's right.
Would you do that if you had the opportunity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah.
Okay, you get into a band. Mm-hmm. Well, what part of the band do you want to be? What instrument do you want to play? Or who do you want to be?
So, I played an instrument one time, the violin.
Oh,
nice.
And I was not good at it.
Do you know Ada Pasternak?
Yeah, I just saw her in Nashville.
No.
Yeah, we were just hanging out. We got coffee.
Yeah. I just interviewed her like a couple days ago.
Oh, very cool.
Met her for the first time.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah, she sounds great. She has a very unique sound too.
I've known her for years. When she lived here, I've known her for I don't know. God, she's been in the scene for maybe 8 years or something like that. So I've seen her around a lot.
Has she?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Played Hotel Cafe a lot and, seen her around.
I gotta see.
Yeah. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Hotel Cafe. That's another great venue.
Yeah, man.
Now they got that little tiny closet room in addition to the regular room.
Yeah, the
I've
second
never
stage.
been there before.
And so I went to go see you perform live, but I was having lunch or dinner with my boss, and it went a little further than expected. So I got there late after you performed, so I didn't get to see that performance.
That was so sweet of you to show up anyway and say, hey, man.
Yeah, I wanted to see you perform there. There's got to be more shows, man, because we're excited to
for sure.
you, and I cannot wait for Michelle to see you perform live because it's a thing, man. To see Dylan Chambers perform live.
Oh man,
I think if I was in the band, I'd want to be the singer.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can't really sing, but there you go.
You have good front woman, presence. You really do.
I don't know. I have to be like right in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind playing an instrument, but I just don't know how. So,
Yeah.
But if I was great at it, that's cool too.
Sure.
Piano's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to be the synth guy. Easy job.
There you go. Yeah.
He likes to do the buttons back there.
The guy
He's always been a DJ.
Right.
He's always been a DJ, so it brings him back to those days.
Yes. Or if you ever need an opener.
All right. Great.
Oh my gosh. When I opened up for Los Five and a couple at the Troubadour and the Whiskey A Go Go, that was freaking awesome.
What were you doing when you were opening for them? You were opening?
I literally just walked up and I said, "Hey, welcome to the club."
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I'm Freddie Rivera, and
you're gonna see,
man.
Yeah, and I just got everybody excited about it, and they walked on stage, and it was awesome.
Our overlap is crazy. I mean, I've known those guys forever.
That's right.
So many people that I remember I used to go to the Kiss station, and I would play for artists in there in that one room where there were the beanbags on the floor. I mean, I've been like adjacent to like a lot of things that you've done. We just never like had our time like this.
So I guess we were meant to be friends, I guess.
I know.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember. Here's another talent.
Okay.
I want to talk about is JP Juan Pablo.
Yep.
He was a lead singer of Los Five.
Yeah.
And we talked to TA, the manager, about this just last week or 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
In Hollywood, you meet a lot of musicians in radio, and you see a lot of performances.
Yeah.
But only a few stick out. And that's why, I said that about you, and I said that about JP from Los Five, because I saw like a young Bono in him, like a Latin version. Like he was just, his singing abilities and the way he could, the vibrato, he just had a natural talent and a gift. And
I wish he would have stuck with it.
God, it sucks to see somebody with that much talent, just like you said, did a lot of amazing talent, just doesn't go anywhere. And it was my first time experiencing that and seeing, wow, there's a lot of great people who don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
God, and it's a bit heartbreaking, but and in my head I'm like, okay, how can we make this a reality one day to get him back? Or but this is the business. This is how it works.
Yeah,
and I know
sure.
you see a lot of that too.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world, to persevere, and you have to keep the light shining inward, and sometimes the world makes it very hard to do that.
That's for sure.
Yeah. You're right. You've sustained very well. In fact, you're killing it. You're progressing.
Thanks, man.
And I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah,
you just did your recent, and we're going to ask you to do, if you don't mind, to do your top 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you did your own top 5.
Yeah,
and
that was so cool.
One of the stories that stuck out, I was like, what? Okay, so somebody said that you don't have enough edge and that you should do some cocaine. Who told you that?
I probably shouldn't say.
Don't say that.
But I'll tell you. I'll tell you off the mic.
Yeah.
I had just moved here, and my manager at the time was like, "You got to meet so and so. I know him. We'll get you over there. I want you to play for him," because he was an artist in the '80s that had a really big hit song, and then he also became a producer and was producing a bunch of people. And I think my manager wanted to hook us up and wanted me to play for him to see if maybe there was something we could do together. And
I told you Rick James was dangerous.
Yeah, man, I wish it was Rick James. I love Rick James.
Right? I know.
I went over there to his house in Malibu, and I was there with my manager, and I played some songs, and for my age, I think they were pretty good.
Yeah.
And he just was like, "Okay, cool." He was like, "Man, how old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 18." And he was like, "Yeah, I can really tell. You know, like you're just so young. You have like no edge. He was like, have you ever done any drugs or anything? And I was like, no. And he's like, man, drugs will really like give you an edge. And like at first I thought he was kidding, and then he kept going on about it. And he was starting to tell me about what types of drugs and like all that. And he was like, man, cocaine, like you should get. He's like, you'll probably end up doing it anyway because you're in LA, but like maybe just start. He's like, it'll break you. You know, he got. And I just and I think about that more now as I get older. And I just thought, what a crazy thing to say to anyone, but especially an 18-year-old.
Yeah. And someone who's heard all through school drugs are bad.
But also, it's like, man, if you want to get an edge, live your life. Yeah. Like life will chip away at you some way or another. You know, so just keep doing your thing. Just keep getting older. Yeah. You'll develop some sort of edge. And also, why does everyone have to have an edge? What is that?
Right.
Why does everyone have to be dangerous?
Not everyone. Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Walk in with your clanking boots and you spit into a bucket. You're like, I'm here. So if you don't mind me asking, and if you tell me, you know, it was private. You and I had lunch, and you asked me a really good question because we're both only children,
right?
And I can't remember exactly the question, but it was something about like how we grew up and how we saw ourselves, and you know the important. What was the question? It was.
I do get curious when I meet other people that were only children. I mean, there's a lot of things that cross my mind is like, you know, were you lonely? Did you want to, you know, have a sibling?
It was like, what made you want to do this? What made you want to, you know, to be a musician or a radio host?
Was it, have you really thought about exactly why you do what you do? Was that the question I asked you?
That's it, yes.
Like on a deeper level, like why do you think that you do? We all do what we do, but I don't think a lot of the time we actually go, what happened to make us do this, or like what you're like why is that?
And I love that because not everybody gets to that level in a conversation, you know. And,
that's deep.
But I thought about that. Of course I thought about that. You know, as we get older, we think, you know, we have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, why do we do the things we do?
So what's your answer? What do you think?
What was my answer?
I'm like, stop. I'm over here waiting. What's the answer to that great question?
I guess my question or my answer to that question was, you know, as an only child and as a nerd only child, you know, I was pretty nerdy. In fact, I'm still nerdy. But I guess I would hear conversations and I would see my groups of my friends and people, and they would laugh at jokes and they would do this, but I was never funny enough. I was never loud enough. I was never cool enough. But I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be heard. And
a lot of only children do, I think. I think so.
Yeah, of course. That's in there.
That's not a bad thing. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I guess that's the only child in us, but it's also the artist in us, the creative, you know, just like your son. Right. And it's
he's
just
an only child also.
But it's also, in addition to that, it's also, if you know you have something special inside of you, you want it out, you know, you want to find your way to get it out some way and somehow. And it's frustrating because you have this, you know, you say, you know, we can only communicate with the mouth, but there's something inside of you that also wants to be communicated, and you can't figure out how to really get it out there. You know, it's like somebody with the thought, but they can't verbalize it. You know, it's very frustrating.
I felt that a lot in my life. And as I get older, I get more curious about why I do what I do. And another thing that I've thought about a lot is just in general, when you are a creative person and you're an artist and you showcase that in front of people, applause can sound and feel like a lot of different things to a lot of people. You know, for me, I never met my birth father. So sometimes that sounds like approval from, like, I sometimes go, I'm looking for him in what I do.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that until I got older. There are just so many reasons why we put ourselves out there and why it feels like we have to, like it's not a choice. And I just always get curious about that with others, because no one really, I don't know, no one talks about things like that. But I think it's really bold to follow a creative instinct in yourself throughout your entire life, and you just go, it's going to lead me wherever I'm gonna go. And sometimes that's really far into the ether. Sometimes it's like down the street, you know, like it's just such a wild thing to think about. But whatever that fire is, I am grateful for it, and I'm grateful for my history. I've gone through lots of things too, and I think that's helped me in a way continue to keep moving forward. So yeah, I don't know, interesting.
The only thing that I was missing, I had the talent, I had the job, I had my friends, I had everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that I was missing was edge. Nobody told me that.
You know what you should have done is some
You know what you
cocaine.
should have
Yeah, that'll give you edge.
We
dude.
have the solution, sir.
If there's anything that's going to give you edge, Dylan, you said it. It's going to be life, and it's going to be eventually
Yeah, of
to
course.
everybody at some point.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, this question goes to you.
Okay.
Why do you do the things that you do?
Why are you like this?
Why are you?
I don't know, because my career is so standardized and strategic and planned out, and it's very organized, and it's not, I don't get to be free. And so now that I've been in my career, next year will be 20 years. So now I can stop and go do something else. So I think that's going to be, because I've always been wanting to be creative in my job. And they kind of, if you know anything about working for the state of California,
Yeah.
because that's where I work, for the state of California.
Okay.
So everything is like, you get to a level and it stops. This is where you can go. You can't get paid anymore. You can be a badass and better than everyone else, but you're still capped out at this pay.
Yeah.
You still come in these hours. You're still Monday through Friday. You still have to do your job. And it's, you know how you're saying you don't know when you don't think about when you're going to lose your job, but you know in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
I might not have a gig for 2 years. What am I going to do? How am I going to eat? What am I going to do that?
Yes.
So with my career, I'll never feel that way. Ever, ever, ever. And I think
Right.
the job security of it has kept me going. Also, it kind of fell in my lap. Like, I was looking for a career. I finished college, and then just right away, and I was a criminal justice major. I was a psych major, then criminal justice major.
Wow.
And I wanted to really go into forensics. I wanted to be like a detective. I wanted to be something like that.
Your mom was in law enforcement.
Yeah, my mom was in law. A lot of my family was in law enforcement, actually.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to follow in the footsteps. And it took me in a different direction, because I kept getting into an academy, and it kept getting canceled. And it's like, our funding. Oh, we have to cancel it. Oh, we have to cancel it. And I had a little baby at the time. I had him really young. I had him when I was 20. And I was...
The dad was Kobe Bryant, by the way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant's his father.
Yeah. I assumed for some reason. Yeah.
He's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
So being forced to get a job, it kind of fell in my lap. And then the job security was great. Like, most jobs nowadays, they don't have a pension. You don't have all those benefits, all the sick days, all the vacation time, all the retirement that I'm going to get when I'm done. And like, if I stay until I'm 55, because 55 is technically retirement age,
Right.
I'll have 32 years in.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't like to, it's not the same. I've never done the same thing, but it's always been the same department. So I think I'm ready for a change. And I've always done what I've done, I think, because I had to. Like, my life was a little bit different. I was kind of, I had to do what I had to do. If you don't have any kids, if you don't have kids young, you kind of have to do what you have to do when you have a baby and you have to think about them.
Sure.
And if you remember, I don't know if you remember right around that time, but when my life had changed up until that point, I did crazy, wild, outrageous things that I probably shouldn't have kept going.
You lived your life early.
Yeah, I lived my life really early, and it was probably teetering on dangerous, I would say. I would say it was teetering on that. And right when I had my son, it came to an abrupt halt, and I was okay with it. But it was a reason to stop, and a reason to just, you know what? I'm going to do what a mom should be doing. Yeah. And I'm going to do what a mom should be doing. And I had very good examples of what moms are, fortunately. And I took something from each of them. My mom and my stepmom took something from each of them, and my aunts are amazing. So then I was the workhorse because my family did that. My dad had a pension. He was an engineer, and he was chief engineer. He was always at the top. My mom was a correctional officer, then moved to a parole agent, and always been at the top. Like, they always just kept going, and they had the personality where they were just going to keep being in management. So that's what I did. Like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep promoting. And I promoted it about every 3 to 4 years throughout my whole career, just kept going. And now I'm at the point, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore ever again. And it's not that it was bad. I just don't want to do it again. I want to do things like I was telling Justin the other day. I think I want to just be in a job where I have to travel.
Oh, cool.
And not have to travel regularly, like every month or something, because sometimes that's excessive to be away from home. But something where it's a global company where they're like, hey, Michelle, we need you to go to this Japan office and be there for a few weeks and train so-and-so and so-and-so. So I'm ready to get it. If you know anything that's going that way, let me know.
Well, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I go, okay, so this is, I think, why we're a great pair for, our friendship, but it's,
yeah, we do something totally different.
Yeah, very different. And I guess, maybe hopefully I was able to, you did the mom thing and I came back and, we went to shows together and you're kind of like stability for me in some ways. Because, I need to be stabilized a little bit. I mean, I'm not wild and crazy, but what I'm saying is like,
I understand.
There's that comfort level of stability. And all right, so Dylan Chambers is here in our beautiful, humble city of Montclair, California.
Yeah.
Where he's ventured to before on his own.
Yes.
For another adventure. But tonight's adventure, he brought a guitar. And I
can't wait to hear it.
This is going to be freaking awesome. Are you ready, Michelle?
All right, great. I'll start
ready.
setting up.
All right.
Cool. So I'm going to play one of the songs off of my debut EP. This song's called You Gotta Respect Yourself. All right, here we go. Everything begins with everything you are. Everything you need to be is right there in your heart. Why deny your glory when you're so glorious? Why be the victim when you can be victorious, baby? You can't give what you ain't got. You can't win if you don't take your shot. Your self-worth is worth a lot, oh yeah. So don't you ever stop. You gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Don't you neglect yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Respect yourself now. Hey now. Got a big man on campus, living inside your soul, fighting with your ego, trying to take control. One out of a billion, there's only one to you. So you gotta let yourself do what you got to do, yeah. You can't give what you ain't got. You can't win if you don't take your shot. Your self-worth is worth a lot, oh yeah. So don't you ever stop. You gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Don't you neglect yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Respect yourself now. Say, don't you let nobody tell you you can't be somebody. Say, don't you let nobody tell you you can't be somebody. Hey, you gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Gotta respect yourself. Respect yourself. Don't you neglect yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. Respect yourself.
freaking awesome. I almost feel like we didn't deserve that. I was like,
I love it so much.
Thank you.
that was awesome.
Thanks, man.
Did you get like a little taste of what I was talking about?
Yes.
When you see performing live,
Yes,
there's
yes.
something. There's something. It
Yeah,
just-
but nothing like this. Like people are gonna say, "Oh, I saw him," and you don't even know where we saw him.
yeah, exactly. Like 2 feet away from
We
us.
had a private show. Thank you.
I know. Dylan Chambers, man, that you really that okay, I'll say this. You have been my absolute favorite interview since we started this in the new studio.
Thank
By
you.
far.
Well, it's really been nice to be here and talking with y'all. Seriously, thanks for having me.
I don't even want to say, Dylan, I want to wish you anything. I'm gonna say when you do, get to the next level wherever you're headed, man, I just want to say we're very excited for you. And
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We of course we hope the best for you, but I think it's gonna, no matter what, you're gonna skyrocket, dude, and
Thank you.
you're just gonna kill it, man.
Thank you
So
both. I
We're happy
appreciate
to
that.
be a part of your adventure.
Same here.
Yeah.
And congratulations on all of this, the studio, the podcast. It's very exciting, and it's great in here, and I could talk to y'all for hours. So
I
thank you
know.
again
Well,
for having me.
Heck yeah, dude! All right, we would love to have you back. So,
Yeah, please.
If you got a tour or if you got another release coming up,
Yep.
man, it's not even about don't wait for an invite. Just text me and let me know. Let's do
Yeah.
this. Let's lock it in, and by all means.
Yeah,
man.
man, I'm working on some new stuff. Maybe before I leave, I'll play you a little something just like off
Heck
the,
yeah,
the
we
mic
would love
to
that.
show you.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to ask you, man.
Yeah, no.
I felt spoiled already. I was like,
I know.
Yeah, no,
Like, how many can we get?
yeah, no, I've got some more music coming out in 2025. Basically, my plan for 2025 is I've been writing a lot of music that's kind of like retro soul inspired. That's more soul than it is funk. And then I've been writing, of course, some of those funky upbeat things. So I've been trying to figure out a way to package them together, and then I realized I don't have to, and I can do whatever I want. So I'm
Yeah.
going to put
Yeah.
out. I think the plan is to put out 2 separate projects next year.
One a little more soul.
One a little more in the like 50s, 60s kind of soul, and then one's a little more like funk pop. It's all, there's a soul in all of it, but I just thought I think that's how I want to do. It feels right to me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at for next year.
Man, we're excited about that.
Yeah,
So We're
man.
excited to have you in here.
Yeah, thank you.
Whoever's next week, they're gonna.
I know.
They won't be able to top it.
Oh, man.
Any last questions before we conclude this episode?
Nope.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Cool.
I don't have a baby, but if I did, I would ask you to sing to my baby.
Well, if and when you do, I will happily do
Oh,
that.
thank you, Dylan. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Look at me talking about babies. Let's end the show now.
I know. I'm like, can we replay this?
Well, ladies
He's
and
all
gentlemen,
cut.
live from Hollywood, and drove all the way east on the 10 freeway.
Yep.
The talented, the uber talented, the man who has the gift of music, Dylan Chambers.
Thank you. Oh man, thank you very much.